because this is your shtick. And I get that this is your
shtick.
You
racialized everything, Joy. Come on.
I get it. I understand this is your shtick, Piers. And listen, game recognized game. I get this is your game.
It's not my shtick.
And the bottom line,
it was your shtick.
It is your shtick. And everyone knows that it is.
So as you may recall, in February of this year, political commentator Joy Reid was fired from her position at MSNBC, where she hosted her show, The Readout. And after her firing, she got emotional.
My show had value, and I'm sorry that what I was doing, and in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you. Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or not just Black folks or went hard for immigrants who've done nothing but come to this country like my parents did and try to make a life and defended them. Whether it's talking about any of these issues, I'm not sorry. I am not sorry that I stood up for those things, because those things are of God. And you know, I'm a church girl too, and those are the things that I was taught were of God. And so I'm not sorry. I'm just proud of my show.
So I just want to start out by saying a broken clock is right twice a day, and whether or not she intended to, she said her show had value. Keyword had, past tense. It didn't anymore. As the January before Joy was fired, MSNBC had the worst month ever, with only 63,000 viewers during primetime hours. And with the adults in the age range of 25 to 54, it averaged only 45,000 views per day. And while MSNBC was down 34% to 506,000 average total day viewers, and CNN was down 9% to 421,000, Fox was up 53% to 1.92 million. And when Piers Morgan gave his opinion as to why he thought her ratings were going down, she couldn't handle it.
Now, look, you're perfectly entitled to be proud of your show. Many people enjoyed your show for many years. You know, a lot of people at NBC were briefing that the reason was declining ratings post the election, a 47% decrease in your election, in ratings from pre-election. But you told Mark Lamont Hill on his show this.
After I said on my show that the reason Americans could relate to Ukrainians in a way that they didn't relate to Palestinians, that Ukrainians are white. And so watching white people get their schools bombed was, you know, hit different. That hit our ratings. I mean, it definitely, we could see the loss of white viewers from that moment that I said that. So they were like, we don't like the name calling. And also I'm a Black woman. So, I mean, I'm sure it makes him angrier, you know, when I say things. Maybe because I am a global South person myself, you know, I mean, as a Black person, we have a different empathy toward other global South people when they are suffering. And so we're going to come at that story from a different angle and in a different way and with different kinds of empathies. And I think that's not always received very well in the news business.
Now, Joy, I mean, look, let's be honest. I don't think you were fired after all those years because of your skin color or because you're a Black woman. I think you were fired because your show just got increasingly unpopular. It happens all the time in TV. That's why you got let go. Why play the race card?
First of all, I love the fact that your play the race card is your version of the race card. You literally are so fixated on trying to racialize conversations with me, Piers, I find it actually quite charming.
You racialize more conversations in your tenure at MSNBC than any host in history.
All right, Mark. All right, Piers. And the bottom line is you take an entire conversation that I had with Mark Lamont Hill and pick the bits that you can racialize, because this is your shtick. And I get that this is your shtick.
You racialized everything, Joy. Come on.
Listen, game recognized game. I get this is
it's
your
not
game.
my shtick.
And the bottom line,
it was your
it
shtick.
Is your shtick, and everyone knows that it is.
Shtick.
Piers, we
people
understand
got bored
what
with
it is. And it is so interesting to me that you yourself, as a white European, find that when people of color talk about race, that you believe is racializing conversations. But when
okay, I just got to point out the blatant contradiction right there, because she basically said, I don't racialize conversations, then says, you're saying I do because I'm Black. And let's face it, she makes everything about the white man. And here are just a few exhibits.
Hey, I just want to give some free advice to the white progressives, particularly white progressive women who may be thinking about marching against the Trump victory, maybe putting back on the P word hats and doing that thing. I would just say probably don't send any of those invites to any Black women you know. I'm just going to tell you right now, they're not coming. I'm pretty sure Black women have resigned from the Save America Coalition, Save Democracy Coalition, and definitely the Save the Democratic Party Coalition. I think Black women are now on the Save Black Women, Prioritize Black Men, and prioritize Black communities, Black businesses, and the Black spaces.
And she was also making Kyle Rittenhouse's trial about race.
So the Kyle Rittenhouse trial reminded a lot of people of something, the Brett Kavanaugh hearings. Cried his way through the hearings to make him a permanent member and Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. In America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears. Really white tears in general.
Newsflash for you, Joy. He didn't get acquitted because he cried during the trial. It was ultimately self-defense because the people he killed that night attacked him first. And because we know you're speaking code for white Republicans, the judge who presided over Kyle Rittenhouse's trial was Democrat appointed. So just food for thought. But anyways, she uses race baiting for Donald Trump's trial as well.
There is something wonderfully poetic. The first person to actually criminally prosecute Donald Trump is a Black Harvard grad, the very kind of person that his former staff, the people who worked for him, Stephen Miller, et cetera, want to never be at Harvard Law School. But he was. And he came out and graduated, and he's prosecuting you, Donald. And a Black woman is doing that same exact thing in Georgia. And a Black woman forced you to pay a $175 million fine that's out now also in question because the people who put it up, that might not be legit. Donald Trump is being held to account by the very multicultural, multiracial democracy that he's trying to dismantle. And for me, there's something poetic and actually wonderful about that. Go DEI.
Yeah, so about Fani Willis, the DA in the Georgia case against Donald Trump for election interference, she was removed from that case for having a relationship with the lead prosecutor, Nathan Wade. And let's not forget how hostile she would act while testifying.
Great. So let's just talk about what you did in preparation for today. Once the motion was filed, did you meet with Mr. Wade and talk to him about the motion that I filed to disqualify you?
I don't know if you could say talked about. I probably had some choice words about some of the things that you said that were dishonest within this motion. So I don't know that it was a conversation. As you know, Mr. Wade is a Southern gentleman. Me, not so much.
Yeah, what a class act, guys. But we all know that with the Stormy Daniels Donald Trump trial, that Donald Trump got acquitted. So it looks like Joy's race baiting backfired in more ways than one. And the point is that certainly her race baiting had to be a factor in her individual show, plus MSNBC's ratings going down. And also, it doesn't help when you're advocating for pornographic books in schools.
The question I'm asking is, what is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, pedophilia. Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so
sure.
I'm going to answer
Please
for
do.
you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? That's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on dildo or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No, we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
Well, who is the main character? What's the name of the main character in All Boys Aren't Blue?
You're asking me right now.
You just gave me very specific information about this book, so you're presenting yourself as somebody expert.
It's the gentleman.
Who's the main character in the book?
The main character is the author.
What's his name?
George, I believe, is his first name.
Because you're giving me very specific information that is.
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You
the
just
name of the
remembered
author
very specific
doesn't.
things.
Joy.
Here's my question.
We're talking about
Here's my
strap.
question.
You didn't answer my question.
No. I'm going to answer your question.
Yeah, just real quick, what does the author or the main character of the book have to do with anything? Just because someone doesn't know that doesn't mean they shouldn't have a voice as to whether that book should be in schools. This is the type of thing that Joy Reid does.
What I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert, in this book...
I don't have to be an expert to know that dildos aren't appropriate for public school. I mean, come on, let's get real.
This book is a full context story, as you said, of the author's experience. Why is it your right or a Moms for Liberty activist's right to say that a parent who wants their child to have access to this book, which gives a personal experience of this author, why doesn't a liberal parent, for instance, or a parent of an LGBTQ kid, why don't they have a right for their child to just have access to this book? Why is it your right to say they can't?
So, again, we're talking about incest, rape, and pedophilia.
And each parent, each parent has to decide what is appropriate for their child to read. So I want you to answer. I'm going to ask you one more time.
Right.
What is your right to tell a parent who wants their child, who might feel seen by this story, why don't they have the right? Why don't they have the right as a parent to say, my child can have access to this book?
If a child feels seen by this story, that means that they have been the victim of a predator. That means that they have either been raped by a family member. They've experienced
and your proof
rape
of that is what?
You just said that
What's
the child feels seen by this story.
What I'm saying, Joy, you're now making assumptions.
No, Joy, but if a child has been raped, we should do a lot better than put a book on the library
Now you're literally
shelf.
creating a story behind a child that you don't know.
Yeah, how dumb can you be, Joy? If someone feels seen by a book like that, maybe they haven't been the victim of it necessarily. Maybe it didn't directly happen to them. But if they can relate to grape, then either someone they love has been the victim of it, or something's going on at home. And they should talk to counselors about it, not have it in schools. What are we even doing here?
Let me show you a form. This is a form that can be obtained in Broward County, Florida.
Okay.
This is called
Can
the
I see it?
Yeah, please, I'm going to hand it to you.
Thank you so much.
It's called the opt-out form.
Okay.
An opt-out form would allow any parent, because you said you are in favor of parental rights.
I am.
It would allow any parent to opt out of their child being able to take books out of the library without their parents' permission.
Okay.
So that Moms for Liberty, why not advocate that every school in America have an opt-out form so that a parent who doesn't want their child to access a book like All Boys Aren't Blue,
right,
that they can make that choice? Because then each parent, including a liberal parent, a black parent, a parent who wants their child to read a book about African American history, then
we
want
children to read books.
Why not just
African-American
opt
history,
out for yourself rather than tell other parents what they can and cannot?
First of all,
Black history and stories about grape are way different, and the latter should just not be available to kids, point blank. And the funny thing is, she's advocating so hard for these kind of graphic books in kids' schools when a few years ago she published a homophobic blog in which she said she'd never watch Brokeback Mountain because she doesn't want to see two gay men kiss. Something she initially claimed was fabricated, aka that she was hacked, but there was no evidence found to support that claim. And Piers called her out on her hypocrisy.
Okay. Have you watched Brokeback Mountain?
No.
Okay. I mean,
And what is the point of that?
Well, because you said I don't want to watch the two male characters in Brokeback Mountain having sex.
Okay, so what does me watching Brokeback Mountain have to do with that book, whether or not it is pornographic?
No, nothing to do with the book.
That is a book that people can have the opportunity to read if they so choose.
No, I'm not talking about the book.
I do not understand how an organization
I'm not talking about the book.
can make a decision. It is not about the movie. It is about whether or not Moms for Liberty.
I'm not talking about the book.
The organization who should make
Joy,
decisions for other
I'm not
people's
talking
children.
about the book, as
Whether
you know.
I watched a movie or not makes absolutely no difference.
I'm
If you've
talking
seen the
about
movie,
you posting on your blog that you wouldn't watch Brokeback Mountain because you don't want to see two male characters having sex. Does that make me homophobic? Probably. Most straight people cringe at the sight of two men kissing. Your words, not mine, Joy.
And your point is?
That maybe that makes you a bit of a hypocrite when you're taking the position of being an ally for the LGBTQ community. And actually, the best way to handle it, I would argue, is just to say, you know what? Actually, I did write that at the time. They're not my views now. I've learned, I've evolved, I've moved on. But trying to pretend even now that you didn't write it is preposterous. And I think you know that.
The bottom line is what I've said, and I will say it again, is that I take full responsibility for everything that was on that site. I'm deeply apologetic for the things that were on that site that hurt people, and I take responsibility for it because it was my site. And that's the end of that. And my views, as you know, and as I've said on air, are quite different from the views that you just read. And that's the end of that.
Okay.
Yeah, Piers Morgan's okay at the end was pretty emblematic of how a lot of us feel about Joy Reid at this point. The kind of, yeah, whatever you say. Because even if she did take full responsibility eventually, the fact that she initially said she was hacked, quite frankly, makes her a hack. And yeah, people are allowed to change their views, so maybe she has learned from the situation, but why not just say it? Why not take responsibility? And one other perspective I'd like to introduce. If she has evolved, and once thought strongly the other way, she should empathize with people who maybe don't want gay smut books in elementary schools. But no, she wants to corner, speak over them, and paint them as intolerant. And then she wonders why she was kicked off the air. Well, that's the prime reason, because when you preach about compassion but don't practice it, eventually people catch on. And they'll stop tuning into you because you'll just be seen as a fraud. And that is exactly how much of the public views Joy Reid. But guys, I want to thank you all for watching this video as always, and if you appreciated my commentary, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, hopefully I've earned a subscription. Here's some more videos for you to watch in the meantime. Until next time, peace out.